probability of success.
Are Democrats divided on this issue, despite what Speaker Nancy Pelosi is saying when it comes to impeachment? Take it off the table for now. Can the president take her at her word, or is the more rebellious part of the party going to continue to pursue this? The Washington Examiner's Beckett Adams, we got Democratic strategist Capri Cavuto, and the National Taxpayer Union's senior fellow Mattie Duppler. Capri, are Democrats in a pickle on this? I mean, they can continue hearings, which might not lead to impeachment, but just keep embarrassing the president. But there are those who want to ratchet it up. What do you think?
I think that I agree with Steny Hoyer and Nancy Pelosi on this. I think that it is bad politics. I think it sets up a circumstance for President Trump to point to say, look, the Democrats are targeting me. This is all about politics. And that is not a good narrative to go into 2020 with. That's not going to help the Democrats win in 2020. They need to stand for something. Now, I will say this. I do think that there are members of the Democratic House caucus in particular that are waving the impeachment flag. But I think that this issue is that important that I think Nancy Pelosi will be able to keep her caucus in check. People are not going to go rogue and try to get impeachment done. I will say this, though. I know people have introduced articles of impeachment before, but guess what? They did that in the last Congress, too. They're not going to see the light of day, and that's what's important.
Well, you know, Mattie, that's kind of the argument that Republicans have been maybe hoping for, right? That they go ahead and pursue this and implode. What do you think?
I think implosion is probably a likely outcome if they do pursue this. Listen, Nancy Pelosi is a very expert politician, and she knows to expand Democratic leadership in Washington, D.C., it hinges on her controlling her somewhat unruly caucus. But for every headline that a progressive in the House of Representatives gets, there's someone like a Steny Hoyer or a more moderate member of Congress who is dying to avoid that impeachment question because they're coming from a district or a state that voted for President Trump. So Nancy Pelosi is playing her card here where she knows as a member of leadership, she needs to put a stake out there to try and avoid some of those more vulnerable members getting the question about impeachment, because it certainly will alienate the voters that those Democrats need to show up for Senate races and for the presidential in 2020.
But, you know, Becker, can't you have your cake and eat it too? Which I always felt, by the way, was a dumb expression. If the cake's there, eat it, for God's sake. But having said that, do you think that just having hearings, even though you know they won't lead to impeachment or you won't formally start impeachment proceedings, those could be grinding and wear down the president, where, you know, maybe hit his poll numbers, and maybe that would suffice for some Democrats?
No, I mean, the funny thing about this is Pelosi's been on this case since even before she retook the White House, or the House. I feel like she's almost a character from Greek mythology who's been cursed to answer the same damn question over and over again without people actually listening to her. She's been trying to talk this down for a while because it may play well to the base, to the sort of crazier fringes of the Democratic Party. But what the Republicans have is that not only do Republicans oppose this, but a majority of independents oppose it as well. So as long as Republicans keep playing it, she can keep saying, we're not serious about this, we're not going to do this, but Republicans just have to point to the fringe members of her caucus and say, well, actually, this is a thing. And Republicans can play that off of not just their own voters, but also independents. And like you were saying, going into 2020 doing this, it's a grind. Nobody wants to do that.
It is a grind. Real quickly, guys, I mean, a lot would depend, obviously, on the Mueller report when it comes out and what it says. Do you think that will move the needle on whether we get impeachment hearings? Mattie?
Well, I think that 2020, the presidential folks right now are trying to make this a campaign on ideas. If you're a member of the House, to propagate any ideas, repeal of the tax cuts, Medicare for all, Green New Deal, all of these big ideas Democrats are talking about, you need a budget to do that. And so far, even House Democrats have been unable to deliver that most basic function of government. So I think it's going to be really hard for the House of Representatives to lead the charge here for Democrats trying to make a name for themselves going into the next cycle.
Just as unlucky on that front. But Capri, what do you think?
I think at this point, I mean, look, no matter what, the Senate's not going to, basically vote for impeachment, so it's absolutely futile. And I agree that we need to focus on doing the job of government.
And that will win the day, you think, in the end, Beck, or is all things equal after that?
I mean, if Democrats want to be really cunning about this, they can pretend this is like an Obamacare repeal where they just promise it election after election and jazz up the base, but not actually have to deliver on it.
All right, guys, I want to thank you all very, very much.
Thanks, Neil.
Meanwhile, we're talking about the president, what he has to worry about. Well, right now he has to worry about the timing of Nancy Pelosi signing something